We're recording. Oh my gosh. I'm back. What's poppin', fool? Hope you guys have been well. It's been a very long time. I think 2 weeks since we've seen a new video from me, man. I apologize for that. I've been really busy. But I'm back though. I'm back for sure. Let's just make sure that the levels are all good. The levels are all good. In fact, all right, great. Okay, so I want to talk as a continuation, a little bit of a continuation to these buys and sells that I did within the range. I want to give you guys a reason for them, and then I'm going to come over to a little bit of back testing, because a lot of these trades over here I actually didn't take. These ones I did take. All of these I took, and all of these you can find on the AKFX channel. However, for example, from here onwards I did not take any of these, but I did take that one, but I did mark up and I did take that loss. I did mark up a lot of these trades. I also did take this guy over here. Again, everything's in the AKFX Telegram channel, which is the first link in the description. But man, first of all, man, welcome back. Sorry for being so inactive, but I'm back now. Yes, I did take this sell. However, when I partialed out, price came back to take me out and actually fill up this H4 OB right here. And then we're going to cover all of this either in this video or in a future video. Don't worry, I will record the future video back to back so that you guys won't have to wait 2 weeks ever again. I very much apologize for that. But very importantly, I want to show you guys how I take intraday. There's no real word to intraday scalps, excuse me. How I take intraday trades based off of one sideways / consolidation range, because a lot of people, when they see consolidation, they don't trade it. And for me, when I see consolidation, especially on Euro USD, it is very fun, and not just fun, it is a great way to get a lot of money in your balance. The reason being, of course, you got to know how to do it well. I'm not saying, go into the consolidation phases and just trade it blindly. No, but consolidation phases, what I notice, my personal observation of when price is doing sideways, right, before, of course, and when they do an accumulation, a manipulation, and a distribution, right, or as ICT traders will call it, a power of 3. And so when I see a consolidation phase, I see a lot of respect to liquidity and structure. And of course, it's not going to hold for a swing, right? Because it's freaking consolidating, right? But it's not going to hold for a massive 100 pip, 200 pip swing. No, not necessarily. But it's going to give you a lot of in the range plays that are very good for compounding your account, very good for even practicing. If you guys are just starting out, it's very good to practice your liquidity and structure understanding from inside a range. Very good. Because sometimes it may take you days or a couple hours before price actually reaches your high time frame POI, and then you're taking a short, so yeah, it's very good to practice within the range. So that's actually another bit of a range play over here. The range is between the top, this strong high, and this weak low over here. And the reason why this weak low would hold price still is because fractally on a 15-minute time frame is actually responsible for a boom hunt of these bits of liquidity, break a structure over here, inducements get taken, and as you can see, price just plays over here first, over here next, goes up, and then it takes this liquidity on a later day, and it's very nice to study how liquidity gets, not immediately taken, but rather you can counter trade it, and then it takes the liquidity that was built up on Monday or Tuesday and then continues on onto the cycle. Very interesting. And of course, everything of liquidity is with respect to market structure, and of course the market structure that is invalid is liquidity, but you wouldn't even be looking at that market structure because it is invalid. It does not how do I say this, match the criteria. So let's come back to this though. Let's talk a little bit about these range plays. Beautiful, brilliant plays over here. And I just want to talk a little bit about these guys, right? Okay, so I'm unfortunately unable to go to the lower time frame, but you guys are going to have to trust me on this, as well as look at your own paid trading view. If you guys have paid for trading view, I have not. I don't use trading view to analyze. I use MT4. But if you guys have paid for trading view, you guys can go over to the M1, M3, and M5 and check out all of these entries, and you will see exactly what I'm saying playing out for sure. So let's take a look at this, man. What we can see first off is that we have ourselves these three highs. Besides that, we've already covered this in part 1. We have our area that we really want taken, liquidity that we really want taken. This is that liquidity that we really want being taken into this bullish OB before we can speculate some either intra short-term buys, because the overall market structure, of course, the overall flow is that we're creating lower highs and lower lows. That rhymes. So when we look at the H4, for example, right, we can see that we would love for this liquidity to be taken. However, price does not necessarily have to. Again, no one knows whether it's going to take which liquidity, but people are able to speculate based on the knowledge that they have. And so I'm able to understand that, hey, even though I would love on a daily perspective this liquidity to be taken, I would love on a daily perspective for this liquidity to be taken. It does not have to fulfill that criteria immediately or in fact ever. But if I'm in fact bearish, I would like this criteria to be fulfilled because we are bearish and we should be looking for sells. So when I look at this, right, I can see that we actually do have ourselves a 4-hour strong low. Right here, this low, let me just get rid of this real quick. This low here took the liquidity, broke the structure. If that's clearer to you, fair enough. I see this as a sell, buy, sell. So this would be the last lower high. Boom, she gets broken. Liquidity is built right here. All right, and we actually do have ourselves a very clear and easy understanding of the IPA, right? We have ourselves an IPA candle. So if I were to, there we go, check that. We can see that I've marked the IPA candle. Well, I've actually marked it all the way to this bottom wick. The proper way of marking an IPA candle would just be like that. We have ourselves an FVG, inefficiency, whatever. But as you know, if you guys haven't watched the POI video already, the whole concept of an IPA is for the FVG to be filled up to a 100%. It doesn't have to be, but that is the understanding of it. And that is the refinement, basically, because we want to follow a set of rules. And if we are following, you know, a bunch of FVGs or inefficiencies, 50% here, 50% there, oh, sometimes we're going to take 100%, things can become a little bit vague. Sometimes we go with OBs, sometimes we go with breakers. You know, you're going to be taking more losses, especially if you don't already have a very good trading plan, which is something else that we should be talking about as well, is getting you guys a trading plan up to, you know, what you guys are comfortable with. That's up to you though. That's up to you guys to find out what you guys are comfortable trading. So when it comes to this area, what we can see is that we know it makes no sense, and sometimes you will see some trades where it makes sense for you to buy, but price just gonna tank all the way to the bottom. But we know based off of logic that it makes no sense for us to be selling when price has already taken liquidity. So for example, price has done something like this, boom, took liquidity, right? It is risky for us to then be like, oh yeah, let's sell this. It has happened, but like a lot of things, the odds are in the favor of, oh, price is gonna manipulate this. Why? Because okay, we understand. We took this liquidity, broke the structure. This guy's right here. Price took this liquidity. It makes no sense for us to go break and retesting this out. You know what I'm trying to say? So we can understand that, oh, we've taken this liquidity. If, for example, on a higher time frame perspective, we are bullish, it makes sense for price to do something like that, perhaps, right? So boom, take this liquidity, something like that perhaps, and then go up because we're bullish on a higher time frame. In this case, we're bearish. But I'm giving you guys a bit of an example of how we can understand. You know, we've taken this is what a lot of people misunderstand as market structure. Oh, look, it broke market structure. A lot of people who just follow market structure, they're going to take a sell. But no, people who trade market structure know that we want to look for the origin point, quote unquote, of the structure where it started, and that origin point is in confluence with the liquidity hunt. And that is basically that. But anyway, let's get back into this. I do not want to make this video too long. I want to get into actually analyzing these guys. So when we see this, guys, when we see this, right, we know that it makes sense for us to stock buys over here. If, of course, you know, time and price align up. If you guys follow kill zones, that's very helpful as a confluence. That's very helpful as a trading rule, right? Props to ICT, Michael J, right? But not Michael J Fox, Michael J Huddleston, right? But yes, it's up to you which one, you know, what exactly you guys want to follow. Gosh, it is raining, bro. It is raining. Cats and birds. Oh, cats and dogs, my bad. But you get the point. So over here, man, let's take a look. We have ourselves these 3 highs, and we've already, you know, talked about this in the previous video. We've sold off from that, and I've, you know, talked about the sell. I've talked about this little range play over here. But now let's actually just evolve into this bit right over here. Okay, so just from here all the way to the right, we'll also talk about this sell. Brilliant sell, followed my plan. In fact, if you guys watched, I think 2 or 3 videos back, I'm not too sure, it was a Euro USD breakdown as well. When I broke down this sell over here I broke it down. I talked about, in fact, price coming up to this exact area and selling off, right, completely. But you guys will have to go and see that video for more detail. But okay, let's take a look, man. Again, if I explain things a little bit vaguely or not so well, please do excuse me. It's been a while since I've made a video, so I am actually a little bit nervous that I'm gonna mess up my explanations. I want to make sure I'm very thorough with my explanations to you guys, so please do forgive me, please. But okay, so what we see over here, we have ourselves the liquidity hunt. Boom, right here, we took this liquidity out. So let's go to a fresh chart and let's actually plot these guys down. Let's go Oanda. I usually use Oanda and FXEM, just between those two nowadays. Okay. Actually, usually not FXEM, my bad. Oanda and Forex.com is fantastic. Forex.com is fantastic, man. Fantastic broker. So over here, we took this liquidity. Boom, took it, right? Does it make sense for us to keep on selling? It could work. It could work. Like for example, over here, it broke, right? And it kept on selling. It kept on selling right here. It could work. However, is it high probability? In my personal opinion, from my observation of the market, not so. Not quite, right? So let's see if we could go to the 5 minute. If we can't, then we can't. We can't. Okay. Let's take a look at the 15 then. That's fair. So I did not actually take any of these trades over here. I did take this one. I took a sell from the top. I took a buy from over here. I missed the sell. It was a beautiful, like, ICT style sell over here, beautiful one. I took a buy from after this liquidity got taken. You can see how price is respecting this structure, right? With the liquidity confluence. You see where I'm going with this. Let me take a sip. Give me a sip. Oh, it tastes so good. All right. But yeah, you see how we have that liquidity confluence with the structure confluence that we talked about on the 4-hour H1, right? Let's take a look at this. We can see based off of a 15-minute perspective, right, price had actually already played this. Again, I would not be looking at a 15-minute on a time frame as low as H1. You could, there's nothing wrong with it, but I would be, you know, stalking around the M1 to the M3, M5 kind of areas, you know. So we have ourselves that break, right here. Boom, we have ourselves the break over here. This would be like a 5-minute doing something like that. You know, just a little something like that, and then price hits back. So over here, when I'm looking at the price, right, it's not very clear. You know, like when price is doing something like this, right? Price is doing something like this, it's not very clear, because when you take this entry and price goes in a little bit of drawdown, you're going to be thinking, oh, it's going to come for the low resistance liquidity run, and then price reverses and then you're happy. Or when price, you know, it's not very clear. Not very clear at all. So I did not actually take any trade over here, and I didn't take any trade over here either, right? But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Very, very nice bit of price action. So when I'm looking at this, in my personal view, this was not very clear. I didn't take a trade over here. When we look at this, right, let's see. I'm also viewing this like the first time from you guys. It's been weeks since this trade actually happened. We can see that over here, price took the liquidity. Let me go and take this. Now, would you have had a buy over here? Let me ask you a question. Would you have had a buy over here, inside here? For me, no, because as I said, it's a little, whoa, relax. It's a little bit unclear to me. Just a little bit unclear. Price is doing something like that. You can see over here, we have a bunch of these lows and highs. Man, I literally upgraded my RAM. Is it my RAM? Is it my CPU? Freaking Steam is on. Give me a second, guys. Why is Steam on? Alright, we're back. I apologize for that. Yeah, there we go. So much better. Okay, so let's talk about this. So it's not very nice. It doesn't look very good for me to look for a short. You know, for example, something like this looks very clear for me to short from. We have ourselves the hunt on liquidity, broke the structure. We know over here there's a bunch of like wicking over here. It's not very high quality. So above that wicking should be high quality. Over here we took the liquidity, broke the structure. So clear, so beautiful, and I did take that trade because it's so clear. It's so beautiful. Right? How could you not take the trade? But over here, it's kind of iffy. You know, and when things are iffy, I would rather not risk my balance on it. So simple as that. So over here, we have ourselves the hunt on liquidity. Is this relative equal lows? No, it's not relative equal lows, because as you can see, we nicked that liquidity and we absolutely flew. We flew. Okay. Now over here, if I'm not wrong, right, I don't think I could actually get the charts for this. If I'm not wrong, there was something of an M1. If I'm not wrong, there was an M1 trade that actually occurred in here. However, if I am wrong, that's still okay, because when price comes up over here, I just want you guys to understand the plays on liquidity, right? We just took this bit of liquidity inside the range. So again, how do we know whether price is going to take this liquidity, fill up all the way here, and then you could speculate that, oh, if it's filled up all the way here, then price is going to come up and take these triple highs at the top? You do not know. And when you do not know something, it's best to err on the side of caution. However, once I saw, this is all between a range, this is all within a range, okay? Here, right? Once I saw this high get taken, in confluence with an ICT kill zone, which for me, I started off at 8 p.m. Malaysian time, which would be 8 a.m. New York time. And I don't really go up to where. No, it's just for me, where does it start? That's all I'm really interested about. Of course, you can have plays from the closing of session times. Of course, you can definitely have that. You know, London close, and then the New York open, and then the New York close would have its own individual models, but and plays on liquidity. But for me over here was very simple. This was the New York open for me, and when price comes up, took the liquidity after the New York open. I was like, wait a second, does it make any sense for me to do a break and retest buy all the way to the top? For me, does not make sense, right? So what did I do? Very simple. I looked on the 1 minute, and I can guarantee you, go to your TradingView Premium, look at your 1 minute, you will see a bearish QM. And from here, I took a 2 or 2.5 pip entry from the top of this high, as you can see, right here. Just like that, I took this entry, and I've sent the screenshot to AKFX as well. If you guys are having trouble finding it, I will literally like you know what I mean, re-tag it, re-pin it, or re-tag it in AKFX. But I took this trade, and that is the literal reason for me taking this trade. We understand our structure over here. We understand this structure, don't we, guys? We understand that, right? And over here, we understand that once price took this liquidity and ran up like this, does it make any logical sense for me to go and buy over here? For me to go and buy at this break and retest, for me to go and buy after this liquidity has, been taken? No, it does not. So this is where your knowledge of structure, liquidity, ICT, time and price, this is the most basic understanding and knowledge of ICT, time and price. There's so many more details that I'm not going to go through in this video, but there's so many more details to it. You guys definitely, if you guys are interested in this kind of trading where we're kind of in between over here, right? You're interested in understanding, reading the market in terms of its liquidity. Very important that you understand the ICT view of it. Do you need it? No, you don't need it, but is it helpful? Of course it's helpful. A lot of things that are helpful. S&D is helpful, right? Some understandings of trend lines and support and resistance is helpful, but it's up to you which one you find the need to study. Find the worth to go and spend your time studying. So for me, understanding liquidity based off of the ICT concepts, very helpful. I want to give props and credit where it's due, of course, but there are a lot of other things that they're just completely unnecessary that I will never use. But yeah, so over here, we can see, man, if we're going to buy, where are we going to buy? Let's ask ourselves that question. If we're going to buy, okay, ask ourselves these questions, right? If we are going to buy, if we are buying, number one, where? Number two, where's the high quality area, right? Where's our liquidity confluence to feed into that buy, right? Number two, besides, if we're buying, this is if we're buying, okay? Just flip the scenario for sales. I don't want to make this video too long. Where? Number two, I forgot the number two. God damn. Okay, but we have ourselves our where. We want to know where it makes sense for us to buy. Oh yeah, number two is, where is your target? Where is price pulling to? And it doesn't mean that price is going to pull there. It just means, where do you think, where do you speculate price is going to pull to? This is another word for, this is a very fancy word, draw on. The draw on liquidity. Where is the area where the buyers would want to go and I'm saying buyers as in, oh shit. I'm not saying buyers as in someone who is going to actually buy the market. No, there's not someone that's buying the market. It's algorithmically driven, but you get the point. Where is price probably going to take its profits for the buying model, if you will, for the buying context, right? The draw on liquidity. Where is, so let's make it very simple. Where is your target based on liquidity? Okay, and so that is that. So for example, over here, the other third thing is, where would sellers come from? So where could selling come from? These are things that can answer your where's your target. This where could selling come from answers where's your target. Where answers where is it probable for you to buy. Here, nope. Here, nope. In this OB, nope. Here, yes, it makes sense to buy from here. Why? Why does it make sense for a price to buy from here? Strong low. One. Number two, what else? We took the damn liquidity and did what? Took the liquidity here, nicked that liquidity. Oh yes, it did take the liquidity and broke the structure that caused the liquidity hunt. So if we're going to buy, this is where we're going to buy. And of course, we have this liquidity to feed into our buy zone. And as you can see, price most definitely did buy. It did have its reaction. And this sell over here, does it make any sense to buy? No, it doesn't. And over here, we have this liquidity play at a New York Open kill zone. Price comes up after the kill zone starts, took the liquidity, lower time frame gave us that break in structure, so we sell. Where's our target? Our target for me can be right here. Why here? Why not the liquidity? Well, of course, yeah, sure, you could have the liquidity, but why here? Why not the liquidity? Because I was thinking, right? I was thinking about this. 3 minute over here. There was a 3 minute IPA. Guys, please look at your TradingView charts over here. 3 minute IPA inside the M15. Strong low. Bullish Q. right? Strong low, aka bullish QM. And that is the liquidity feeding into it. So I'm thinking, would it be quality for me to buy over here? Would it be quality for me to buy over here? If I say, oh, both can be bought from, oh, what? So that means you're going to buy from here and from here? What if you take losses on both? I want to ask you that question. What if you take losses on both? You just lost like 1% of your account or 2% of your account if you're risking 1% per trade. Doesn't really seem very rational. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. If you guys want to go ahead and trade that way, that's your thing. But yeah, so that's the target for these sells. That would be the safe target for these sells, and that is also the reason, the context, the reason why this buy here makes sense. The first reason why the buy here makes sense is because we're in a buying POI, and this is a reaction off of the buying POI, the higher time frame buying POI. The second reason is because we took this liquidity, broke the structure. This guy is strong. Why? Because it took liquidity, broke structure. This guy is strong. Why? Because it took liquidity, broke the structure. Is being induced. Price comes in here. There's no question behind it. Of course, it makes sense for us to take a buy, right? And so that's what happens. Price buys. Now, where was the target? I even showed this. Actually, this was a little bit, not a live trade at all by any means, but this was a little bit of like, I was showing on AKFX exactly like where my target was going to be before the target gets hit and stuff like that. Excuse me. The target for my buy, the first target, because this was coming close to where the market was going to end. Can you see the days ending over here? This period separator right here, right? The day was actually ending, and so I didn't want to hold for too long because I want to just, this is a bit of a day trade or a little bit of an intra, excuse me. And so we got, I think it was a 1 to 8, 1 to 9, just from this small range. Insane. It's insane. This 3-minute IP that came in somewhere from around here, my entry was right on the wick. My stop loss was about a 2-pip stop loss, because even though I could have just placed my stop loss down here, which is a 1-pip, I wanted to give it a little bit of space. I gave it a 2-pip space. And so because I know this is the strong low, so this would be actually the proper stop loss, but I wanted to be a bit aggressive because I knew, hey, it's coming towards the end of the day. My risk to reward is not necessarily high probability to hit massive returns. So I said, let's make it massive returns. And so we forced ourselves a 2-pip stop loss. And the target was actually an SNR. It was somewhere around here, this SNR over here. And once that SNR got taken, boom, she just reversed. Now, this is something else I want you guys to read this market right here. Okay? New day starts right here. The new day starts. I did this. 1 hour. What is happening on the 1 hour time frame? This is all I did, guys. What exactly happened on the 1 hour time? So you guys understand why I took a sell here, right? It makes sense because we took this high during a New York kill zone. 1 minute made a bearish QM, sold the damn thing, and then I understood that here's where it actually makes sense for us to buy. Now, besides that, can you guys see this? Just pay attention to this. It's insane. It's insane. Pay attention to this. We took this liquidity. We talked about how this is actually a take on liquidity, and then we broke the structure. We broke this structure to the upside, and then we bought from here. Now, can you guys see on this 1 hour time frame? So I always like to look at the 1 hour, 4 hour, right? 1 hour, 4 hour is like my playground, if you will. And when I look at it, I see this low failed to go and create a higher high. What does that tell us? That tells us that it's highly probable that this low, at least this low, is going to be taken, and this low as well, because this low, although it followed through, right, it never made a new high. This buy I took never made a new high. And so as you can see, this whole range from here and up makes no sense for me to look for buys. Underneath this low, sure, perhaps. Underneath this low, sure, perhaps. In fact, a bit of transparency over here. I took a loss. Yes, I did. I'll be very honest with you guys. I took a loss because I found a buy below in this wick because I wanted this to be the liquidity being filled up into it. I took a buy from here, and yes, I admit, I in fact did take a loss. It is what it is, right? And so I'm not trying to deny anything here. However, I understood that how many people, let's think about it, how many people took this liquidity, broke the structure, right? Liquidity inducement here, price comes down, oh, let's look for a buy. For me, no. This is the area below this wick is the area for me to look for a buy. Why? Let's refresh that real quick. Refresh our memories real quick. Because this low failed to create a higher high, right? Meaning it's a higher probability that this low is going to be taken. And the reason why I looked for a buy inside this wick, it's completely sensible, 100%, is because this wick was responsible for a liquidity hunt and a break of structure to the upside. And this could be the inducement for the buys inside, right? But unfortunately, it did not work out. It is what it is. But now we have new liquidity to play with. Boom! She took that liquidity inside, of course. It's just playing our POI over and over again, right? But we know that it makes no sense for us to, once the liquidity gets taken, it makes no sense for us to be looking for a sell. So let's take a look at what exactly happened. Let's go back. Let's revert real quickly. Lil Uzi vert real quick to the forex.com chart where I actually had the markings somewhere around here. Yes, I did. right here. Price came down. Let me just take this away. Price came down, took these guys' liquidity, right? Took this liquidity, and on a, I believe, 1 minute time frame, guys, don't quote me on this, but go to your TradingView premiums. 1 minute, 3 minute time frame. If I am not wrong, there had to have been no, not if I'm not wrong. 100% there was a bullish QM. Okay, bullish QM, and I bought it because of that. I bought this bullish QM because of that, right? And where's my target going to be? The reason I bought here, we'll talk about this sell in a second. The reason I bought here is, as I said before, because we have taken this liquidity. You see, let's take a breath real quick, man. Let me take a sip real quick. Let me take a breath, man. Okay. The reason why we're looking for buys, is solely because we have context behind it. What is that context behind it? Here, we've swept the liquidity, we've broken the structure, we have ourselves that SNR lick over here. Can you see? Resistance, breaks, becomes support, SNR liquidity. Price is playing that IPA. That is the reason and the context behind our buys. The liquidity, the structure first, the liquidity. Number two, the hunt of these guys' liquidity and these guys' liquidity at the top. We know that if we were to buy over here, it makes sense for this to be our first take profit, for us to not look for a sell in here because there are triple highs. So for this to be our entry, first take profit, and for this to be our second take profit. We know, and why are we even looking for buys is because of this. Because of this liquidity. You understand why now. So when we are having a sideways, I pay attention to the lows and the highs that are being taken during that consolidation phase, and then play off of the new structure that is formed after the manipulation of old highs and old lows. That is how I play inside the sideways. You see how that flows. Now, if I were to talk over this real quick, just talk over it, man. Just talk over it. Why did I look for a sell here? This is my H1 IPA. Pink box, H1 IPA. Buy to sell range. M5 bearish QM, mind you. That's why I have this dotted line over here, because it took liquidity. Price comes up, fails to create a lower low. Liquidity. I know I'm not selling in this OB. I'm not selling in this OB. Liquidity. Price comes up inside here. Take the sell. Where's my entry? I think it was around 2.5 pips, if I'm not wrong. There we go. 2.5 pips. Okay. That was my sell. Where's my target? Right here. I'm not looking for no buys. Nuh-uh. I am not looking for any buys over here. Why? Because we have this going up to this. This is a literal perfect sell. Like that's the reason why I took that sell. You understand me? Okay? Took the sell. Next, this high was responsible for the manipulation of this liquidity. Broke the structure here. Broke the structure here. Now, it created what? SNR liquidity. SNR liquidity here. Support, breaks, becomes resistance. This is the liquidity. And you can see how my sell. Oh, I forgot about this sell. I forgot I even took this sell. Right, over here, 1 to 13R. Again, oh yeah, definitely I posted this because I remember this sell. No, I remember this MT4 sell. I took this one. I'm very proud of this one because it was a very fantastic trade. SNR liquidity gets taken. Not even the OB yet. SNR liquidity gets taken. Okay, I waited. There was an M1. This 100% I'm right about this, by the way. M1 bearish QM. Price retested. Took my sell. Boom, she goes on. This is what? 2 pips from the high. There we go. 2 pips from the high. Just like that. 2 pips from the high, that's why. M1 here, bearish QM, okay? Took the sell. Look at this, look at this. Okay, watch this, okay, guys? Watch this. This is a wonderful, wonderful trade. Boom. Took the SNR lick over here. Why? Because this is support, breaks, becomes resistance. Took the SNR lick, right? Lower time frame like this, okay? Took it. And over here is just creating the liquidity going up. And so it runs them all out. You see, all those trend line buyers run them all out, okay? So, that's the reason for this sell. Once this liquidity gets taken over here, boom. Yeah, as you can see, I told you guys, didn't I, on the Owenda chart, I never actually took this buy, but rather I took the sell. I explained why I took the sell, because took this liquidity out and gave me a bearish QM during a New York kill zone. After that, comes back down and I took this buy, as I told you, 2.5 pips. And that was also, that 2.5 pips was also, lining up with, the M3 IPA. All right, and that's why I took it. That was, of course, my target for sure. But as you can see, Why did I put a line here? Because that was my SNR liquidity, my little short-term target, my today's target. And next, what happened? Very simple. We could notice that, oh, this low, we failed to create a higher high. I don't trust this low to hold. Look. I do not trust this low to hold price. I don't want to look for buys in here anymore. Okay, so what happened next? This is during a London kill zone, mind you. Asian highs plus it's just liquidity. Why is it just liquidity? Because this high failed to create a lower low. This low didn't break the structure. Failed to create a lower low. So I'm waiting for this to be taken. Into where? Let me show you. Let me get this up. Let me show you guys the London started here. So London open. This is the London Open, 2 p.m. Malaysian time, which is 2 a.m. New York time. And yeah, so that's that. So sorry. I should probably bring that back. My bad. Look back at it. Hey. All right, so let's look at that. Right here, London session. These are the Asian highs, the highs that have been created during the Asian session. Right over here which was where the London session started. I know. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I know it makes no sense for me to buy. It makes no sense for me to buy until this low gets taken. Why? Because this low failed to create a higher. I know that. Now, there we go. Do you guys understand why? I never look for a buy in here, nothing like that. There we go. That's fantastic. Do you guys want to know why? That is the reason. I didn't trust this low to hold in the first place. So anything that's created after this low is just liquidity to me. You see how that goes. Reason why? Because simply, this low failed to create a higher high. When this guy created this high, when I buy here, what's the objective? What's the objective of this buy here, guys? Hold on. What is the objective of this buy here? Is it to just that's it? No. Break the damn guy. Break him up. Right? But he didn't. He took the liquidity. Yeah, that's my target, my short-term target. But if I want to hold this, nah, man, we need to break this high that caused this low. We need to break it. That's the power of market structure. This high that caused this low. If we buy at this low, we want to go and break this guy up. You see, okay? So based off of that, we have these Asian highs, and this is actually over here. We took these Asian highs. Here, the only sensible thing. I literally, though, it's so sad because I literally looked at the chart, looked away, looked back at the chart, and price had already tapped, and then this candle had closed. I was like, oh my god, damn it. Now I'm going to have a freaking 5 pip SL if I would actually take this trade. So I was like, it's not worth it. Never mind. Let's see where that actually plays out. Bit of forward testing. And I literally sent it to the AKFX chat. I was like, oh man, I missed this trade. When price was like around here, I was like, oh man, I missed this beautiful sell. And it just tanked. Just boom, freaking tanked and took out the entire range. I was like, if only I got into this sell. But you guys understand this sell, right? We have that liquidity. You see how price respects liquidity beautifully, right? Even this high, look. We took this liquidity here. Stop hunt, break the structure. Install these equal highs here. See these equal highs installed. Price comes back, took these equal highs into what? Into this IP. You see, I would not have taken this trade, but do you see how within a range especially, price respects these and is very when I say respect, price always respects liquidity, or I shouldn't say always, very often respects and plays liquidity based off of what we've thought in smart money concepts. However, how do I say this? The fluency or the frequency, of respect during a range is insane. And that's what I found out. That's why whenever I see like a New York consolidation range, I love trading it because I know the next stop hunt of the range is going to lead to a massive expansion of, when I say massive expansion, on EU, it could literally just mean 30 pips. But for me, with my risk to reward, it could mean a 1 to freaking 12, 1 to freaking 15, So I love playing the consolidation range. Just like this. Boom. Took out the entire freaking range. What comes next? A freaking expansion. I told you, right? This is how it works. Okay, so that was the sell. Unfortunately, as I told you, I took a buy from below these wicks, right? Unfortunately, it got stopped out. It is what it is. But then we took out this entire range, still within our buy POI. Makes 100% sense for us to buy here instead of selling, right? Does it make sense to sell? To me, it could work, right? A lot of things could work. But if we're talking about a system that has a high probability of working with high frequency, selling here is not exactly very highly probable in my personal opinion. So over here, I saw a M1, M3 play. And then there was can you see this blue box? This blue box right here. I can't go to the lower time frame, guys, but can you guys see this blue box, right? That's SNR liquidity feeding into my POI over here. And so what happened? This is a news buy, right? So what happened was once this SNR got actually taken, all I did was this. 2 pip from the bottom. That's it, because I saw price just tanked like that, right? When I saw it, I immediately just bought it with a 2 pip stop loss, and that's it. Where's my targets? My first target, well, right here. Okay, another thing over here, when you guys see this wick, right, do you think a lot of people will be like, oh man, my target was immediately over here, man, my target was immediately over here, 1 to 100, whatever bullshit? No, to me, you want to know what I think? I saw this wick here, took out this liquidity, right? You know what I did? I monitored M1 M3 price action inside this wick. You see how that goes. I monitored M1 M3 price action from inside this wick. If it were to break or something like that, I would look for a short, or I would not look for a short, but rather, I would look for taking some of my profits. But there was nothing. It just blasted. The closing, that's why it's very important for the candle closing, M15 just blasted through, right? I know. From then on, I freaking knew, right? Next one, first target here. These guys in here, all right? Next one, oh Lord, have mercy on my soul. These guys over here, right? Just beautiful targets, as you can see here. Beautiful targets. 1, 2. All right, this is a news trades. So now let's back test some things, because there are some trades that I didn't take, right? I told you guys, I completely admitting, I didn't take this trade. I didn't take these 2 trades. I'm being very honest with you guys, all right? But yes, that is that. This was that was basically the reason why we took these in the range trades. Again, you can find all of them in the AKFX channel. And yes, so what exactly happened up here, man? Oh, beautiful trade. Let me show you. Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about multi-time frame real quick. Beautiful. I'm gonna talk a little bit about multi-time frame. Man, I love, you guys have no idea, I love making these videos, having my cup of chai, all right, whilst it's raining outside with the AC on. I feel so chilled, so cold, so in the right mood. You know what I mean? I feel so good, bro. I'm telling you that much. I feel so good. But let's talk about this real quick, man. I apologize, man. Let's talk about this real quick. Okay, so we know we're creating lower highs and lower lows on the weekly time frame. That means in my head, this is what that means. Right? Going back test this. In my head, this is what that means. Weekly bearish, right? Obviously, because weekly is creating lower highs and lower lows. Okay, weekly bearish. For me, I pay attention to daily POIs, IPAs, hidden bases, right? Or H4 liquidity plays. So what is a liquidity play? A liquidity play is simple. It's not a fancy word. I'm just telling you guys what it is in my head. A liquidity play is, for example, on the H4, H1. H4 takes liquidity, so H4 takes lick, and then H4 or H1, right, breaks structure, right? That's what it means to me. Like, for example, I'll give you an example in a second. Okay, let me show you guys this right now, right? Weekly bearish, I like to look at like daily POIs, daily POIs or daily and weekly. So like weekly, daily POIs, right? Looking inside there. Okay, so when, for example, the right here, weekly broke structure, right? What's the weekly POI we can look at? This one. And this is literally what I told you guys. I called this out days beforehand, or yeah, definitely a day or two beforehand, excuse me, a couple of days beforehand. I called this out on my YouTube channel. You guys need to go and check this out. I'm very proud of whenever I called something out, because it's not something that people in this industry do very often. They like to chat about how things happened after, but they don't like to chat about how things are probably going to play out beforehand. I don't know why, but yeah, it is what it is. So over here, you can see we have our weekly POI. Of course, 100%. We have this as well, hidden base, refined from a IP. We have that too, sure, 100%. But over here, let's talk about this one first, right? We can see how we also have that liquidity right here, right there. So let's talk about that. Price goes in, okay, and you can see how price is creating bullishness into that weekly POI, right? That is called portion. Portion is when you have a higher time frame saying one thing, but then you have a lower time frame saying another thing. But then you understand, based off of the higher time frame, that the lower time frame is just trying to retrace back into that higher time frame area and sell off. That's the meaning of portion, guys. That's something I have actually learned from the Malaysian SNR scene. It's called portion. And basically what that means when they talk about portion control, etc., it's not about food, but rather when, for example, you have your weekly showing you something, you want to basically go and mark out your weekly POIs, right? And understand that you'd have something like the daily or the H4 reaching into those POIs. You know what I mean? So you have those the weekly, right? Like this weekly, you'd have like the daily, the H4 breaking structure to go back up into that. You know what I mean? So that's what they call portion. And that's just something to improve your understanding. It's not something generally technical. It's just to improve your psychology. Excuse me, to improve your understanding and your psychology. Yes. So price hits into here, and we talked about this as well, didn't we? We talked about how we would love for price to take these highs before we actually speculate more sells. And so over here we can see we have our weekly. This whole thing's our weekly IPA. Just marked out the weekly IPA candle, just like that. Now from here we can actually refine it to the weekly hidden base. Wick, right? Hidden base. Let's take a look at the daily. Nothing much. Okay, we can refine the daily into here. Okay, this is the weekly. We've just refined it to the daily, keeping this as refined as possible. Just staying there. If there's any other POI that's higher than this area, good to know. But there isn't, right? That H4OB, right? This H4OB, if we were to drag this down, wouldn't that just make it less refined, right? So that's where we go. So once price is in here, we've taken that liquidity. It's real simple. Just look for a lower time frame Quasimodo. That's it. Look for a lower time frame Quasimodo and call it a day. That is it, right? So because why I'm saying that is because it makes no sense for us to keep on buying when price is, taking the liquidity. It makes no sense for that to happen. Where would it make sense for you to buy? I'll tell you where it would make sense for you to buy. Over here, waiting for lower time frame 15-minute, 30-minute bullish structure or bullish QM would be great. But the best area for us to buy within the range of this low and this high, the best area is inside this daily OB. 100%. And as you can see, it didn't hold. Why didn't it hold? Because the weekly is still bearish. The weekly is still bearish, right? For example, why did this buy even work in the first place? Because the weekly is still bullish. You see? Do you see where's the high that caused the low? Boom, right here. The weekly, if that's not clear to you, then this definitely has to be clear to you, right? The weekly was bullish, right? Over here, which is why this worked, right? But over here, then the weekly just became bearish, and that's why this is just a wonderful, like if you took this trade, your next target, in my opinion, should be here. That's where you take off the majority of your partials. That's my opinion though for swing traders. So over here, when price is in here, what's happened was very, very beautiful, man. I showed you guys this actually back when I was introducing the 2 or 2.5 pip entry from the strong high. What happened here was basically an M5. Go ahead to your MT4s, not your MT4s, my bad. Your trading view premiums, okay? M5, M3, M1, bearish QM. Very beautiful. You guys need to go and backtest this, man. I'm telling you, please go and backtest this. It was a wonder. It was a wonder. That was how it actually played out. So what was the entry over here? Very simple. We had ourselves, this was where actually the bullish QM played off of. Right here. Right, is where the bullish QM actually played off of, or actually the bearish QM was made, right? And so it created that bearish QM on the M3, M1, M5 time frames, and where the sell actually could have played off from was right here. 2.5 pips from the high. That is where it played off. Isn't it amazing how, like, I don't know, I genuinely do not know the reason why this is the case, but when it comes to Euro USD, this whole 2 pip, 2.5 pip thing from the strong high works so consistently. It's insane, man. Like, it is insane. I use it for every single entry almost. I use this whole 2.5 2 pip thing. This entire range over here, guys, this entire range, if you just go back and back test everything, just go back and listen to everything I've said, this entire thing is just plays on 2 pip, 2 pip or 2.5 pip. Look, this entry here, 2.5 pip. But of course, understand still your whole QM thing, your whole liquidity thing is still there. It's still there. You're not removing any of that stuff. It's just that when it comes to finding an entry, that's how I did it. Like, it's just wonderful. Over here too, look. Oh, over here was 2 pips. There we go. Over here was 2 pips. Over here, for example. Over here, 2 pips for the sell. Over here, for example, 2.5. Oh, sorry. Here was 2 pips as well for this sell. My bad. 2.5. There we go. 2.5 pips from the low. Every single thing was just like that. Over here I think was pretty simple because we had this IPA. But when things are not too clear, like over here would be a beautiful example of a 2 pip right on the dot. 2 pip right on the dot, which lines up with our IPA. Fantastic for the sell, right? Over here again with the 2 pip. 2.5, my bad. 2 pips or 2.5 pips, that's like our range, or my range that I look at, right? And over here, same thing, man. Same damn thing, bro. It's insane. It's stupid. 2.5 pips, just like that. And why would you take your profits here? Me personally, no, I wouldn't, right? It makes no sense because this is where price could be, swinging from, my bad. this is where price could be swinging from, because it's a weekly point of interest, multi-time frame with the daily and all of that stuff, and we know what's our weekly direction, lower highs and lower lows. We know all that stuff, right? So over here, man, what's our sell? And so when we were to take this sell, where would our take profit be? Well, for me, my take profit would be here, over here. Like once price took this liquidity, observe, monitor the price action, right? Not necessarily in here, not necessarily in here. Here's like a safe TP, like an intra. If you're doing intras, there you go, there's your take profit. Why here? Because look at your lower time frame. Look at this. This would be your intra, you know, short term kind of take profit kind of thing like that. But yeah, that's really the target part is up to you. But for me, what's a sensible, logical target? Definitely gonna be this over here, because why? That's like our liquidity feeding into this buy zone right here, and you can see how price actually fed into that. So next, I'm gonna be recording the sells that occurred in here, right? What's the time? 45 minutes. Yeah, we can stop it right here. This is the second part of it basically, guys, and I genuinely do hope that you guys actually took some value from this. I really apologize if I've not explained anything clear enough. I'm very sorry for that. I apologize for that, but I'm trying my best. I genuinely am, and I hope that you guys can take something away from these videos. You know, it's not too, you know, especially like when people look down on other people's trading methodologies, etc. You can see how, like, you know, I'm just using like supply and demand zones, refined with ICT kill zones and stuff like that. I mix and match because I just take whatever's powerful to me from each individual teacher. You know what I mean? I don't look down on a single person, man. I may disagree with people, I may make fun of people, I may troll people, but I would never disrespect in that sense. I mean, it's a fine line, but I wouldn't intend to disrespect anybody, you know. So if your thing is using kill zones, if your thing is using, you know, intraday trades, playing off of liquidity, you know, majority of your trades are based off of liquidity only, that's kind of the same for me. It's just that I don't put liquidity as my number one focus. So maybe that's why I talk about structure so much. The similar way, when I look at a lot of people who place their trades based off of liquidity, I'm like, damn, that's like could be understood from structure, you know, much simpler, you know. But for them, it's like, yo, for me, I understand liquidity way simpler, man. What's your freaking problem? You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I can understand that, you know. But anyway, man, that's it, man. So that's this entire part here break. I love this one. Was like a great area for me to grow my account. Fantastic area. Unfortunately missed this, man. So sad. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And I hope you guys can, just from this image over here, understand and study this before the next video. But man, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys would like to like this video, please do. If you guys didn't really like it very much, feel free to dislike, man. Do what you guys want, and comment down below. So keep the interaction between myself and you guys going, man. Have a wonderful day. AKFX signing out, man. Peace out.